So I'd just like to start off with a question. So by a raise of hands, how many of you in this room know someone who's been diagnosed with cancer? Now keep your hands raised. How many of you in this room know someone that's developed autism or attention deficit disorder, ADHD? Take a look around. It's startling, isn't it? So what's one universal societal change that's taken place within the last 100 years that correlates to these unprecedented rates of cancer, autism, and ADHD? One word: chemicals. The introduction of 84,000 synthetic chemicals in the marketplace. Now, I want to ask you all to think about your daily hand washing routine briefly. It might go something like what mine used to be. You wake up, you wash your hands. Before lunch, wash hands. Trip to the bathroom, wash hands, and the cycle repeats itself. So as a kid, I'd slather my hands with antibacterial hand soap roughly 8 times a day. Back then, I was glad every bottle of the stuff proclaimed itself to kill 99.9% of germs, because in school, every poster on every wall taught us that germs are bad and that antibacterial cleaners would ensure safer environments. Fast forward 10 years to my internship at Grassroots Environmental Education, a little NGO on Long Island, and that belief was completely dismantled. Since my first conversation with Patricia Wood, founder and executive director of Grassroots, my perception of the chemical industry as a whole and my life in general has never been the same. On the first day of work, I sat down with Patricia, where within the first 5 minutes of our conversation, she revealed to me the corrupt inner workings of the chemical industry. The first thing we talked about was the number 272, which represents 0.03% of chemicals in today's marketplace that have been tested for human safety. I took a double take and thought to myself, really? Only 272 of the 84,000 synthetic chemicals in our homes, in our food, in our cosmetics, in our personal care products, in our antibacterial hand soap have been tested for human safety. How could that be? For so many years, I'd been using products that I thought were perfectly safe. I'd confided in our government and all of the agencies that oversee the distribution of products to sell my family and I things that would improve the quality of our lives. Then I thought, we're being violated. Cancer rates and autism rates and rates of ADHD are rising every single year. And for what? So that the chemical industry can continue to protect its financial interests for corporate greed? We have the right to know what we're putting on our bodies. We all share this basic right to know. This is a right to know issue, plain and simple. Patricia could see the distress pooling in my eyes immediately. So when our conversation came to a close, I opened my computer and decided to analyze the safety of Dial antibacterial hand soap, mainly because it was one of the products I use most frequently. And here's just a snippet of what I found. Dial hand soap consists of 23 synthetic chemicals. Only one of these 23 ingredients is an active ingredient, and that one's called benzethonium chloride. Benzethonium chloride is currently being banned in Japan and Canada and has been classified as a Class 2 poison by the Swiss government. According to peer-reviewed scientific studies published by independent scientists, benzethonium chloride is linked to neurotoxicity, hypersensitivity, asthma, immune dysfunction, target organ damage, and the list goes on and on. Why the heck am I cleaning my hands with a chemical that's known to cause a host of debilitating health problems? It's all too ironic to bear. Fast forward 3 years to today, and I can proudly say that Dial hand soap is no longer part of my life. How have I changed my lifestyle to limit my exposure to toxins like benzethonium chloride? Well, I knew it would be easy to get overwhelmed by all of the newly acquired knowledge about our corrupt chemical industry, so I picked my battles strategically by ridding my room of toxic products I use regularly. On weekend trips to the store, I'd replace 2 toxic, commonly used personal care products like hand soap with non-toxic alternatives. Within a few months, my entire bathroom cupboard was transformed into a toxic-free haven. So, what's the main takeaway message here? Our battle against toxins is something that unifies us. We are all exposed. We all have a right to know what we are being exposed to. We are all at risk, and we can all do something about it. You see, every dollar in our pockets represents a vote. We can either choose to vote for a company that prioritizes maximization of profit over human health, or we can vote for companies that prioritize our well-being, our family's well-being, and the well-being of our environment, of which there are quite a few, and I'd be happy to discuss those with you after if you like. We have the awesome power to shift economic demand from toxic products to non-toxic products with the swish of a credit card or a dive into our wallets. We can prevent disease. We can demand reformulation of toxic products. We can pioneer a path towards a less toxic world. We can say no to toxic chemicals. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions related to the speech that our speaker can address?
I'm happy to just stay after a little and talk to anyone who's interested in learning a little bit more about the issue. Like, you want to know which soap to use.
What's your question?
Actually, do you mind coming back?
Oh, yeah, sure, of course.
In fact, we'll ask each speaker to stay a little bit after their speech so you can ask questions to give judges a little time to finish their judging.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm an autistic person with ADHD. I'm pretty kind of annoyed that you're weighing my disabilities on chemicals because there's a clear family genetic line.
Sure.
Of my family having this.
Genetics is definitely, something that we've known about, but this is definitely a contributing factor to some cases of autism, a lot of cases of autism. Autism has increased by 116%.
I guess, would it be because there's more, thank you. Would it be because there's better diagnostic tools instead of, because if you look at the past 100 years, autism or ADHD wasn't even a concept or a disease?
That's a great question. That's a good point as well. Yes, diagnosing these disorders is definitely much easier nowadays. But it's almost like, once these were introduced into manufacturing, these numbers increased substantially, and science couldn't have possibly, diagnosing autism couldn't have possibly kept up with that kind of correlation.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Great, thank you.
Do you have any questions from the audience? Yes.
Hi, you mentioned that a very small percentage is actually, I think you said 0.003%.
Yes.
Have been human tested. Have they been tested in any other way, perhaps on animals or anything else, or is it just not tested at all?
Any more questions from our audience? Yes.
It's almost painful listening to this because obviously what you're saying makes so much sense. And I'm sitting here, I know it's hard to believe I'm not a college student anymore, but it's, when you leave college and you go into the real world, what you're saying, it almost has to be put in the Constitution or something. That's what I'm thinking. Because why? When you are in the real world, you start working, gaining your responsibilities, you do not have the energy to fight, going to every company, looking through all their chemicals. They know this. So that they know you don't have the energy. We really need to get this, of course, government. I hope I'm making sense, but we should not be bombarded by these chemicals. Today, I'm looking at my protein bars. You eat protein bars because they're going to keep you healthy. And the last thing I hear or read is genetically engineered. I think my protein bars are genetically engineered protein bars. How do I fight back? I don't have the energy. When am I going to go after this company? And what? Get to run around until I'm exhausted?
Yeah.
is a wonderful thing, and I hope you can do something, because it's wrong, it's painful. We should not be flooding our bodies with chemicals.
All right,
It's
thank you
sick.
so much for everyone's
Thank
comments
you.
and questions, and thank you, Zoe, for your